Hey guys, LootWizard here, and it's time for another Soulforge video. So, we're going to get right into it, and we have a new troop here, and we have a new event. We'll go check that out in a little bit. So, I'm going to go in here, we'll check out the weapons in the Soulforge first, see if there's anything good. Up at the top, I didn't see anything there. We have Flesh Ripper, which is not the greatest weapon, so I don't really recommend getting it, but it's okay. Most of the weapons that do eliminate all armor from an enemy are pretty good. But this one deals 31 damage boosted by armor eliminated, and it's a 3-to-1 ratio, so it means that's a third of all the armor eliminated is going to be added to the damage. Now, if you can fight battles where the enemy armor is really high, then this would be a pretty good weapon. So the only time you're really going to have cases like that is probably in high-level Explorer and Delves. So, but there's other weapons I think are better than this one. So I would skip this and wait around for something like Rope Dart, Trickster's Shot, or something like that. There's a Doomed weapon. I don't really like this one, though. It does heavy splash damage, and it will stun all green enemies, cleanse all green allies, explode 4 gems. If the enemy has a Doom, then it'll explode 3 more. So, I mean, it's an okay weapon, but I don't think it's worth crafting for 900 diamonds. So I would wait until the better Doomed weapons come along, the ones that convert gems to Doom Skulls. Now, this weapon here is probably worth crafting just because it's and some players are probably going to hate me for suggesting to craft this because the goblins are really annoying troops to fight against. But yeah, this weapon works really good with goblins, and there's really good goblin troops. So the gimmick to the goblins is that they get an extra turn every time you cast them. This weapon will generate mana for goblins based on how many goblin allies. So if you have the goblin class equipped, which is the thief class, and then you have 3 other goblin troops, this weapon will generate a lot of mana for that. And it's only 300 diamonds, so I would say this is probably a weapon worth crafting. Now, if you're very new in the game, I would not craft this yet because unless you're lucky enough to already have the really good goblin troops. So, King Gob Truffle, you can get him in the underworld, and he's one of the best goblin troops. So that troop does go really well with this weapon, but you can use him just as well with like Mountain Crusher. So I wouldn't craft this until you have at least 2 or 3 good goblin troops for that. Alright, moving on to the troops here. I'm going to go through the summoning stones real quick because you never know when there's something that's good in here. Going looking through red. Rock Troll's okay, but I wouldn't recommend crafting it because he's, not a game-changing troop. Take a look here at brown. Nope. Yeah, there's really nothing in summoning stones I'm going to recommend this week. So let's go on to legendary troops and mythics. For legendary troops, we have Karnax, Winter Imp, Queen Titania, and Queen Moonclaw. So really quickly here, I'm just going to go over the importance of these troops, how I see them. Winter Imp, you're going to get that only in these seasonal times like now. You can get them from keys, but if you're trying to collect these sorts of things, all the imps, there's 4 imps, and if you're trying to collect them, it might be worth crafting it. I have one of these, so I'm not going to craft it, but this kind of troop gains 8 magic whenever you match blue gems, which can really, power this troop up. It deals true scatter damage to all enemies boosted by blue gems. And so this troop can be pretty good. Now, if you use this with a mythic troop like Shabanu Vespera, you can really get some high damage potential with this troop. So that's something to consider. Karnax is a mech legendary troop. Kind of like a defensive troop, but it's kind of odd. It creates 5 skulls, then it explodes 10 skulls. It gains 42 armor. And then it has damage reduction from skulls by 25%. It is immune to all status effects, Devour, and Mana Burn. And then it will add 25% of its armor to skull damage. So this troop's probably best used at the top of the team, and because it will add 25% of its armor to skull damage, and since it is going to continue to gain armor, that skull damage could become quite high later on after you cast it a few times. So it's also a mana generator because it's going to be exploding skulls. Now, the one thing that's good about it is it creates 5 skulls before it explodes them. So if you have a board that has no skulls on it, it's going to create 5 skulls. So you're always going to get at least 5 skulls that will explode with this troop. So if you're using like an all mech troop, it's kind of a nice troop to go with. Now, Queen Titania is also a really good troop. A lot of times they use this with Yao in combination with something like Flammifer, which is a weapon, creates a bunch of red mana. It deals damage to all enemies, boosted by red enemies and allies. If there are 13 or more red gems, gain an extra turn. It also has Fairy Fire on a random enemy on 4 or 5 matches. Now, Fairy Fire is going to allow you to do 50% extra spell damage to that enemy. So it has the potential to even do more than the 28 damage to all enemies. Plus, that's boosted by red enemies and allies. So you're going to get an extra 4 damage added to this 28 for if you have red allies or red enemies. So Queen Titania is a pretty powerful troop. And then finally, Queen Moonclaw, which is really a really useless legendary troop. I never use this thing. It creates 9 skulls boosted by green allies and enemies, and then it summons a random Gnoll. I really do not care for this troop. I don't use it. I haven't figured out a way to make it any better in a team. So as far as importance of these troops, I'm going to say Queen Titania is number 1 as a legendary. And then I would go probably Karnax, Winter Imp, and then very last place, Queen Moonclaw. But yeah, I don't think any of these legendaries are good enough to craft, so I'm not going to recommend crafting any of them. I would save up your diamonds so that you can craft a mythic troop. So moving on to mythics, this week we have Stonehammer, Queen Aurora, Suna, and Pan. So going over these real quick, Stonehammer is one of the best defensive troops in the game. It has a very high damage reduction from skulls by 80%. It is also immune to stun, poison, disease, death mark, and devour. It has a 22 mana cost, and it has a divine and dwarf, so it can start with 40 or 50% mana, depending on if you add to this team Ishbala or whatever that King Highforge, I think his name is, the dwarf legendary troop. It stuns, it burns all enemies, and then it creates a mix of 22 red and brown gems, and then it gains 30 life. So this thing is really, really tanky. And the thing I like about it is that it is immune to stun, so it can't even be stunned. And stun, really quick, is all the traits on a troop are basically void and while it's stunned. Once that stun is removed, then it gets its traits back. But since Stonehammer here is immune to stun, he's always going to have the 80% damage reduction from skulls, unless he gets cursed, and then he can get stunned. But unless that happens, you have a very, very strong tank defense weapon here. The only downside is he has no way to attack other than just connecting skulls. So that's something to consider, and that's why I don't recommend him all of the time to craft. If you already have some really good offensive troops, then it might be worth picking up a Stonehammer. Queen Aurora is a support troop. It gives all other allies barrier and 25 life. It creates 10 gems of a chosen color. It does gain bonus from all mana matches. So that's your red, your blue, your green, all the colors get an extra bonus mana when you match them if you have this fully traded. So I do use this troop occasionally, but not, really often, just because I think there's some other better troops that are a little cheaper on the mana cost. Like Divinia, for example, is only, I think, 15 mana cost, and it will give all allies life, and it also explodes all red gems on the board or something like that. So it's pretty, comparable to this and less mana cost. But I do use this sometimes. And so moving on here, Suna. Suna is a kind of a interesting mythic troop. It's a low mana cost for a mythic, which is at 20. It steals life from the 2 weakest enemies, and then it will steal 8 magic from 2 strongest enemies. So every time you cast Suna, it's going to gain more life and more magic, so which means it will be able to steal more life every time that you cast it. It does Fairy Fire random enemy when matching red gems. So I still do like Suna. It's really good in a few different teams. But last here is Pan, and I think Pan is probably better than Suna. Pan is a newer mythic troop, 24 mana cost. It's a wild folk and beast, so it can start with 50% mana either way, because there's a wild folk legendary troop and a beast legendary troop that will allow those to start with 50% mana. I like to go wild folk team with this troop just because it is pretty good, and its final trait here will give all wild folk allies 1 life and magic when matching 4 or more gems. So it'll increase its own magic because it's wild folk, but it will also increase all other wild folk troops, the life and the magic by 1. Now, it has a pretty high magic damage. It says deal 61 damage to 3 random enemies and knock them into the back. And the nice thing about this to 3 random enemies is that if you have 1 enemy troop left, it's going to hit that 1 troop 3 times. And for me, it says 61 damage, so it's going to do that damage 3 times to 1 troop if there's only 1 troop left. So this troop really hits hard. It's only at 24 mana cost, and you can cut that in half to 12. Also, it does use brown mana, so you can use something like Mountain Crusher, and this thing can get powered up really quick with Mountain Crusher. And since you're going to have a lot of 4 matches or more with Mountain Crusher, it will increase its magic pretty quick because of this trait. So I really like Pan. So I'm going to go here and say the order in which you should craft these troops, I would say, is Pan is number 1, Suna is number 2, and Stonehammer is number 3, and then in the 4th spot would be Queen Aurora. And that's the order in which I would rank them. So, yeah, that's it for the Forge. Let's go check out the new troop here in the shop. I'm going to grab some resources here really quick. And let's grab the troop. His name is Fundagus. He's got mushrooms growing out of his head. He's a fungus guy. Looks like he's a goblin troop and an elemental. He will explode 26 purple gems, then summon either a giant toadstool or an explode stool. Gain an extra turn. And then for its traits, it will inflict disease when doing skull damage. It's immune to disease. And then it will inflict poison when I take skull damage. So that's interesting. But exploding purple gems, that's a lot of them too. 26 purple gems. It does not take purple though. It's red and green. Now, the summon is more of just like, hey, it's kind of annoying. Gain an extra turn is nice because you can explode and then it'll gain an extra turn and it might fill itself back up or something else like Gob Truffle, and then you'll be able to just, yeah, this is actually a useful troop. This is one of the most useful ordinary troops that they've come out with, I would say, in like probably months. And you do get 2 Arcane Beast trait stones for 400 glory, so that's a good deal. I'm going to go ahead and grab a bunch of these. And let's check out the current event. Fungal Growth. Really? Oh my gosh. Fungal Growth is the name of the event this week. Okay. Looks, since we're dealing with goblins, this could be a fun event if we are going to use goblin troops. So I'm just going to buy enough here to get our metal. It better not be skull damage, because I don't think there's any goblins that can even do skull damage. Alright, we got our mushroom metal. Let's go see if it's spell or skull damage. Spell damage. Okay, that's good. Oops. I put it in the wrong one. I like to put it, well, it's not really the wrong one. It just bothers me if there's like one metal that's like over here that's different and then two there. I like to have like this symmetrical, like the two seasonal metals on the side and then something else in the center. So, well, that's just the way I look at it. Let's check out what teams we can make here for this event. Troop type is elemental, so it's not goblin, it is elemental, and we're restricted to red mana color. So let's take a look at what we have available here. Elemental troops that use red. First of all, let's see what the weapons are. So we can use any red weapon that we want. That gives us some flexibility. So right away here we have Infernus, we have Obsidius, we have Phoenicia, which could be useful in this kind of event, especially with the 160 extra percent of spell damage. If we build a team around Phoenicia with a Firestorm, that could be brutal. Jarl Firemantle could be pretty good. The Miraji Queen might be useful only in that it allows all elementals to start with 50% mana, and it does curse enemies. Other than that, the skulls aren't going to be too useful for us in this event. We have Fundagus here, which we could use to explode purple. Sunbird could be useful. Again, we're going to be getting extra spell damage there. So we don't have like a lot of troops for this. I'm just going to throw in a couple here. Infernus, Obsidius, those all could be like good stuff possibly. Let's see what weapons we have here. Doomed Crossbow could be good just for the spell damage. I don't really care about the skulls though. Dawnbringer, if you have it, could be useful. And we don't really need Miraji Queen, honestly, because we have Potion of Explosion and Enchantment and all of that. So I could just throw Dawnbringer down in here and we could do Infernus at the top. Something like that. Sunbird to get totally blocked, though. Like, Sunbird's probably a really good option for most people. If you don't have any of those mythic troops like Infernus, Obsidius, and all that. But yeah, I'm just trying to see here what other weapons we have available. There's quite a good selection here. So, but yeah, Phoenicia, if you could get that up there, that would be really good. We'd just eliminate everything in one hit. We could do that. Let's see. Looking for a mana generator. Let's upgrade this guy just because I don't know if we have any other mana generators here. I would love it if we could use something like Leprechaun, but I don't think that is because it doesn't have red, so we can't use it. I might end up trying this Fundagus guy though, because it explodes all those purple gems. And we could throw him maybe in here. I mean, Obsidius and Infernus also generate mana as well. Just trying to figure out here what's better, Obsidius or Infernus. I don't know. But let's just do something like this. And then for class, let's go Sunspear. Because that'll create our Firestorm at the start of every turn, which is necessary for Phoenicia to do double damage to everything. For banners, we're going to go double red and green. The only thing with this setup, though, is Fungus, his mana is being totally blocked. I'd only be able to cast him once because Phoenicia's got the green. And it would, unless I do something like this. But then Phoenicia is being blocked by Fungus. So, I don't know if we have any other mana generators unless I use a weapon that's a mana generator. Let's see if we have any. So we got mana generators for for certain troop types and kingdoms. Huh. Yeah, I don't see anything that's like really good for what we're doing as far as a mana generator there. Troops. See what it tells us here for a generator. We have trolls. Crazy troll. Create a mix of blue, purple gems. This is double purple gems. This converts yellow to blue. This explodes purple. Rock troll does brown. So, yeah, I don't know. Fungus, we're just going to take him out of there, I think, because his mana is going to get blocked. And let's throw in something else here. Well, I don't know if there is anything else we can throw in there. Maybe I will just throw the Miraji Queen in there just to get that extra boost. Things will get full a little quicker because it'll start with half mana and then we'll have the explosion. But yeah, I would say go with Sunbird early on. And if you do have Infernus, Obsidius, those two are really good. You also have Jarl Firemantle and Garuda is in there. So there's definitely some decent options this week to use for this event. And I'm glad they decided to actually look at it and see that the majority of troops for this event are dealing spell damage and not skulls. So they gave us the right type of damage to work with. So that's nice. But yeah, Sunbird, since we got the metal equipped, it's gonna be doing a heck of a lot of damage. So that's great. I could probably use Phoenicia like all the way up to through most of it. Because then you got something like Obsidius, or if you put Infernus below it, we should be able to constantly generate mana for it, as long as it doesn't get taken out by skulls. Then we should be pretty good. Yeah, there you go. That's my idea on troops and teams for that event. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. As always, I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.